There we go. Okay, I think we gotta wait. Oh, good. Because my hair wasn't finished yet. Makeup. Oh. All right. I told you I was gonna live in Los Angeles and do a television show, and I do. I live in Los Angeles and I do a television show. I don't get paid for it. I don't really care about money. I was in the punk rock scene. There's no money in punk rock. That's why I really resent very specific people, and a lot of them have to do with the state of Michigan. These people are basically morons. I never thought I was harder, smarter, better, faster than they are. Now I know that I am. There is no doubt. And I'm talking about very specific people. It doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to you. I think we have to wait for somebody to actually start watching my show for it to kick in. I don't know. So I'm just kind of talking about stuff right now before we get into the details. So I'm just kind of filling you in on a little bit about my life. I talk about current events. I talk about, you know, I try not to deconstruct media deep blue stories. Every day there's a story about Bud Light in the alt-right media. Every single day there's a new meme about it, and you can't get that kind of publicity. I thought it was a genius move on their part. Yeah. So, and again, one of my properties had to do with a Titanic type ship going down. I find a lot of parallels, and I find a lot of synchronicities. There was a band called The Police with Sting. Sting became an actor. He was in a punk rock band. The Police were considered a punk rock band. They just played for a long time, and they had really good musicians. So they kind of rose to be part of AOR, Artists on Rotation, on the radio. Okay, we're just waiting for someone to actually start watching my show. A lot of times I'll start my show, and, you know, when I go to watch it back, it hasn't started yet. It won't start until somebody actually watches your show, and that's why you need a big audience. I get 10 new subscribers every month since I started this show. I always knew that I was going to do a show from Los Angeles, and even though I'm homeless, I live off the EBT menu, I'm doing a show in Los Angeles. So it might not be ideal, but I was able to manifest this ever since my childhood, when I was watching The Monkees on TV. The Monkees was a TV show that was kind of like based on, you know, you could say the Beatles, but more like the Byrds. Right? They had more of a folky sound, and because they had 3 to 4 main vocalists, they had one of the most amazing catalogs, musical catalogs ever. Some of the greatest musicians here and songwriters in California worked with the Monkees. They were great. They hung out with Frank Zappa. You know, I mean, it was just really, truly amazing. Amazing time for music. What's it called? Laurel Canyon. You had Laurel Canyon. And I believe Laurel Canyon was had to do with drugs and drug culture. We know that Vietnam had to do with this drug and drug culture as well. I'm kind of just talking, I'm riffing, and what I do is I tap into my subconscious, and from that subconscious, I'm able to tap into a collective unconscious. And I'm able to form a hypothesis about a lot of things that we already have a narrative about. And this narrative that's provided to us, I call it, don't think of an elephant in your pajamas. That's what I call it. Because once I told you not to think of an elephant in your pajamas, it's too late. Okay? It's too late. And that's what you're going to be thinking of. And that is the problem with the media. And I'm talking about legacy media. I'm talking about dinosaur media. And they are quadrupling down on this narrative. So I'd really like to get one person in here. Please, I urge you, share my show, tell people about it. I understand if you know me that you're not going to watch my show. If you know me, then you can't experience really my show like a lot of people who've never met me before. Okay? what do they call it? The suspension of disbelief. There we go. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Yes, we can finally start the show. Good morning. Thank you. I noticed that when I do my show, it won't start until I actually have one person watching. Thank you very, very much. We're growing this show. I always knew that I was going to do a show here in Los Angeles. Yeah, off topic. Yeah, definitely. That's great. I always knew I was going to do a show here in Los Angeles ever since I was a little kid, watching the Monkees television show. I am a musician. I trained myself to be a songwriter, and when I conquered that, right? When I conquered that hill, I went on and I became an actor. And that's what I did, and I got interested in that, and I buried myself in that because that's what I do. And I became what's known as a method actor. And before I did that, I actually went to a doctor to make sure I was sound, and I was just an alcoholic. But, you know, drinking alcohol over the years can make you unsound. That's fine, but I was still a young kid. And I also learned a technique for breaking down a script, and I learned this from Bill Macy. He's a big actor now. He goes by William H. Macy. And I learned this because I was a big David Mamet fan. I think a lot of male actors are, you know, into David Mamet's early work. There's a couple other ones. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You know, so what I'm going to be talking about today is the novelization for a television show that I'm writing, okay? And so, like I said, when I went out into the world and I got this experience, I went and became a production assistant, a small-time actor, and I have great memories about that. You know, sometimes I talk about the A-listers that I work with and stuff like that. That's always kind of fun. But anyway, so I went and got this technique, and part of that was because I did a play called Bent, and it was about two homosexuals in the concentration camps, right? This was a play that came out in the 60s. It had male nudity in it. And I always thought, and this was before Brokeback Mountain, I always thought, well, if I have to play a character where you're going to have to maybe make out with somebody that you're not sexually attracted to, but you have to pretend that you are. How are you going to do this? And so this is where my mind was. Okay, and so that's why I take umbrage with a bunch of sissies from Michigan calling me fucking Zoolander. Yeah, Zoolander landed, you phony. You know, this has gone on a little bit too long, man, and I will throw down, make no mistake about it, because that's how I roll. But anyway, so I was like, well, how am I going to do this, right? How am I going to reconcile this, right? Because you see people like Peter Sellers, and you see the story of Peter Sellers, and even though he was a great actor, sometimes he would fall in love with his co-star, right? He's just like, he's working with these like starlets, these beautiful women, and you know, here he was married with a wife and kids, and you know, and he would go traipsing off and fall in love with his co-star and have affairs and stuff like that. Now, he turned into a great prolific actor, and good for him, congratulations. But I always knew that I was never going to be able to achieve that level of greatness, right? You always look for these small supporting roles. You can see the kind of person that I am, what I look like, and you know, and again, in my book, I talk about it a little bit. I say, you know, being an actor in 1990s New York is a little bit like going to prison. Everything's based on your race. And I talk a little bit about how these American Indian actors were actually portrayed by people who weren't even Native American. And that became part of an issue. I'm part Native American, I'm part Southern African, I'm part European, and this says broadly Asian. I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm part Asian, and I'm part 3.1459% Neanderthal. That's right. Take it easy. I did spend half my budget today. I eat off the EBT menu, okay? That's $6 per day. We know it's not enough. And I took my budget and I spent it on coffee, so you can see I'm a little bit more animated today. I'm firing off on all my cylinders, and that's the dangers of SSRIs, okay? SSRIs kill that cognition, and that's what it's there to do. It's there to slow it down. Oh, you're going too fast, you're thinking too fast. Let's slow you down. Now, if you're experiencing mental illness, please go seek help. If you feel like you take a good medicine and it's good for you, please keep taking it. Don't stop. Please consult your doctor. I don't have any problem with it. But what I want to talk about a little bit today is something that other shows don't talk about, right? And in case you ever see me looking down here, then yeah, that means I'm just reading the screen. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. But what I do is I do a half-an-hour show every day, and I talk about a myriad of things. So in case you don't know, I was actually living with a woman who was using a neurological stun gun on me. A lot of times they can come through the Facebook app, and they'll come through your cell phone. But what they'll do is a lot of them will have a second cell phone, and this second cell phone, they can aim it at you and they can stun you. And this is a neurological stun gun. This should only be used, I guess, in extreme situations. My wife was using it all the time, nonstop, from around 2015 on. I don't know how long she had this, but this neurological stun gun proves that we're already neuralinked, because there's no way she could use this weapon on me. I consider it a weapon. There's no way she could use this weapon on me if it wasn't neurologically linked to me somehow. We also have the notion of Elon Musk and going into Twitter and firing 80% of the people who work there. Okay, so what were these people doing? We can speculate about this stuff. You're only getting this on my show. Please share the show. We get 10 new subscribers every month. Yes, yes. I do a live show every single day, and I talk about topics that other people aren't talking about. I'm not here to deconstruct some media deep blue story that you can't even trace where it came from. Why would I do that when everybody else is doing that? Okay? So this neurological stun gun that my wife was actually using on me whenever she felt like it, okay, is proof that we are already neuralinked. And we're not going to go into a Johnny Mnemonic future of transhumanism by putting a chip. Please check out the film Johnny Mnemonic. I really love it. I'm a cinema guy. That's why I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm here to work. In case you don't know, I am writing the novelization for a television series that you will see get made. It's going to go from punk rock into grunge into rap. Hopefully not rap rock. I don't really want too much rap rock, but you never know. There might be a rival band in there somewhere. Right? Boy, these benches are hard. I might have to start doing my show standing up. Standing room only. Ugh. Boy, I tell you, I'm not in very good shape, but I'm homeless in Los Angeles, but I'm part of the problem, not the solution. I mean, I'm part of the solution, not the problem. I swear. Don't put me on Off Topic. Please check out the Off Topic show. He actually LARPs drug addicts, and he actually LARPs the city and the government. And oh, that's great. Yeah. And he shows what it's like to be on the ground here. And what he's showing is this loosey-goosey government apparatus that came into place, and it's mostly in liberal states. And the reason that they have these liberal states, I'm allowed to speculate on my show, and I'll tell you something, nobody else is speculating about this stuff. I'm putting it out here into the ether. I'm using morphic resonance, okay? This is like 100th monkey stuff here, right? Clean off your sweet potatoes, guys, because we're making fries, okay? I'm putting this information out there, and I'm the only show talking about this, okay? It's only in liberal states that they're allowing people to, they're decriminalizing grand larceny, right? Up to $900, so they're stopping it at grand larceny. And they're allowing prostitution, which the prostitutes are actually using Lyft and Uber, because they stand out there scantily clad and they say, hey man, I'm just waiting for my Lyft. I'm waiting for my Uber, okay? And they're allowing drug drug addiction to run rampant. Okay, my guess is they're probably gonna, I don't know, crank some kind of new fentanyl, put it out on the streets, and people might be ODing en masse. I don't know. I think that we have every right to speculate about what's going to happen next, and I think that's part of being quote-unquote pilled. Now, don't forget, Candace Owens, she used to be called Red Pill Black. That was her handle. And look at her now, right? She said that she was attacked, she was canceled, she had people breaking into her stuff, she had people harassing her. Well, I was the one on this show to deduce that they are part of what's known as accelerationism. Okay, and this accelerationism is people on the left as well as people on the right. People on the left have cancel culture, and the people on the right have meme culture. Okay, and it doesn't meme much. It's a kind of a waste of time. Some of them are very funny. You can't deny how funny they are. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on. If something's funny, it's funny, right? And we know that by telling jokes and kind of taking the mick out of things, that it releases this pressure valve, okay? And it takes some pressure off. So if you can't make jokes about things, and I tried to explain to you before that my wife using a neurological stun gun on me whenever she felt like it proves that Neuralink is here. We are already neurologically linked to our devices. And Zuckerberg already said he wants us, it's written in his own words, you got to look things up yourself. He wants us falling in love with our device. Okay? So there's that. I'm the only person talking about this, okay? So please share my show, let people know about it. I do it live every single day from Los Angeles. I might come at you with another show. I always threaten with a second show every day because I can keep going. I've got a lot to talk about, and you can see I really don't prep my show. I'd like to. I'd like $5,000 worth of equipment back in Michigan. Okay, I went undercover on my job, and because some guy asked me to get him drugs. And after what happened down in Florida, they wanted me to die. They ran suicide ops on me, and I thought I was gonna die. They scrambled my brain, and this is 2018. My family turned on me. Everybody turned on me. And that's what they can do with this neurological stun gun. And they can use it. And like, the only thing we can do is predict where this is going. Okay? But we have everybody wrapped up into canceling each other. You know, if you're having problems with your synapses firing off anyway. All right? So I feel really good today. I feel great about my show. I get about 10 new subscribers per month. That's excellent. But we are going to grow this show because mainly what this show is about, I have to talk about my real life because I wrote a memoir. And I also have to talk about current events. I like tying things together. I also like to gesticulate. But what I really like to talk about is my project. So where are we at with my project? Right? So Walter has already made 2 films, and they already used the military-industrial complex. I'll stop saying that. He started using the military in his first film called Of Reasonable Service. And this film gets made almost like right under Walter's nose. And he's the kid who comes from a fascist country, steals all his B-roll. He was shooting a little film with his friends, and leaves the country and comes to a place like Hollywood, okay? And again, you know, I do a little bit of Hollywood Babylon, but that's not what my life's about. I'm not gonna sit here and, I'm a little bit more intelligent to know that, you know, black hats, okay? You know, if you want to have this childish notion about, you know, devil worship and all this kind of stuff, man, you know, good luck with that, right? You know, we're a little bit more sophisticated here. So basically Walter comes over here and this film gets made, and, you know, he's helping, but he's learning. And so his second film they say, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, I'm a fan of American cinema. I want to do something uniquely American. And so he does pork chops in the hoosgow, which is really funny because there's certain people in our society that don't eat pork. So there's jokes already built in there. It's pretty funny. And so then you can kind of move on. And they're like, listen, there's a new guy in town. His name is Jeremy Cloud. Why don't you start hanging out with him? See what you can come up with. And so every once in a while, the generals come around and they start giving these guys pamphlets. Now, what they're going to make is a film not unlike Dr. Strangelove, okay? And it's called Spangled Banner. It's called The Spangled Banner, right? When it's really pretty frightening, where you have one of these last rough and tumble presidents, right? You got one of these guys that are really pretty burly guys. And, and then, after that, you get more of the mild-mannered president, someone who can kind of appeal to everybody, right? But around this time, you had some pretty burly guys. And this guy knows that the one guy, he's been in office for 4 years, and the one guy he can really relate to, I'm talking about the film, a fictional film called The Spangled Banner. And the one guy this president can kind of relate with is his black valet. Out of all the people he's surrounded by, he didn't go to an Ivy League school like a lot of these guys, okay? And so he put his trust in a lot of people, and they really let him down. And he's starting to look, and he sees his legacy, and his legacy is that he was a feckless president. And we've seen people like this. I have a lot of respect for the office of the presidency. It's not like it is today, but I like Jimmy Carter, Nixon, people like that. People had problems with these people. There's corruption there, but you have to understand that they are corporatists. They are doing the bidding of the corporations. And if you ever are in doubt of that, always take a look at the speech by Ned Beatty in Network, right? When he brings Beale into Valhalla, he calls it, and he tells him, he tells him how it is. Listen to that speech. This is what this country is all about. So we have to actually take care of each other. You have to take care of people in your family. Right? You got to be there for your family. You have to be there if someone, is your quote-unquote friend. I understand ambivalence. You're not going to get along every time, all the time. You understand? But there is no government savior that's going to come and save you. Okay? And again, certain people are worshiping the state like they would worship a religion. Now, you have this old symbol. It's the two-headed eagle, right? One is church and one is state, but they're married to the same body. Okay? It's the same principle, the same idea. And now I already explained to you, when I was 4 years old, I stole an ice cream. What is the first thing I did? I told on myself. I went and told on myself because I knew it was wrong. How did I know it was wrong? I didn't grasp the concept of the difference between, from the Bible, right? I didn't grasp the concept of the state, like I'm going to go to jail. I didn't understand. I didn't know any of that yet. But yet, in my heart and in myself, inherently, I knew that it was wrong for me to steal this ice cream, even though somebody else had told me to steal it, right? So again, I talk about my real life, and you have to use that in conjunction with these things. I talk about the Oedipal myth because it's not about the physical act of incest. We all know that you're going to find this archetype that matches somebody that you grew up with looking at, right? That's all. It's pretty simple stuff. It's not really that complicated, okay? And so here we have the President of the United States, and he breaks out the good stuff, the hooch, right? He grew up in one of these small towns. Okay, they had a still, and that's part of his monologue. And and he sends all the other guys outside the room. Like he's up in the presidential suite. Obviously, he's going to go down and give his concession speech. And part of he's up there and he breaks out the hooch, and his valet's like, "Oh man, are you sure you want me to bring you this? You know, please. It's like 8 in the morning. You know what I mean?" And he knows there's going to be trouble, and there is. And don't forget, there's a couple, Nick and Nora style couple across in a building across from them. They're rich people. And don't forget, they're going to work, Jeremy, Cloud, and Walter are going to work on 2 films. This is The Spangled Banner, and they're going to work on one called Nana Sticky Candy Dish as well. I can get into all kinds of minutia about any of these projects. So then he starts drinking out the grain alcohol, and he starts having this moment, just like Ned Beatty with Beale, with his campaign director. And he tells us, you know, it's stop sign dialogue. He's filling in the story about his life and how hard it was for him to come up. You know how many palms he had to grease? You know how many hands he had to shake? Right? You know, and how he came up. And that's why I have a lot of respect for people like Richard Nixon, even though, yeah, he's corrupt, okay? But you understand, he came up through as a Quaker, okay? And he came up through this other political machine, right? And so it's very similar to that. And so he explains himself, but he goes a little bit too far. He kills the campaign manager, and all the other guys are outside, right? They're outside the room. And, you know, the Nick and Nora, the wife, is like, I think there's something strange going on across the way. And the husband's like, yeah, there's something strange. I voted for the wrong guy. That's what's strange. Okay, so they're going to give you this little dig about the president. And everybody makes fun of the president. I mean, look what happened to Nixon. He just became this huge joke, right? It's pretty sad, but hey, you know, you live with it, you take it. And just look at now. There's cancel culture, there's targeting individuals, and we know that ridicule is a tactic used by a weaker force, according to Clausewitz. Right? Clausewitz was a Napoleon military strategist. Okay, so the odd thing about the president is he's stressed out about his legacy, and he understands that he murdered this guy. And so what he does is he goes to the windowsill. You know, he's doing these grand gestures because he's loaded. And he's the only one in there. And so he just goes to the window. Like, we've seen this before, especially in Hudsucker Proxy. Another great film. Oh, by the way, one of the Coen brothers is getting ready to... They have a new film that's out that looks really great. I guess they're tapping into the teen market. I don't know, man. I don't know anything about it. I'm an adult. I like adult films. Not those, some of those too. But, so he goes to the window, and then the Nick and Nora couple, the female sees him. The husband is like, you know, reading the paper and quipping. They're making these quips back and forth to each other. And there goes the president. Out the window. And so here come the jokes from the other side. She's like, did I just see that? You know what I mean? He's like, honey, presidents can't fly, especially this one. He's more like a frog who bumps his ass every time, you know, he takes a leap, right? You know, whatever. So, right? He goes falling out of the window. Well, in New York, when you go there, they have these tarps that are over the entranceway, okay? And again, you're talking, this is a 1950s film. And so when he falls down 20 stories, it could be 20 stories, it could be anything. It doesn't matter, right? When he falls down, he doesn't know. He wants to die. So he hits the tarp, which saves his life. And they have outside, they have a guy with a sandwich board. And he's walking around, and his campaign has to hire an alcoholic, right, to walk around with the sandwich board. Because nobody cares. The president is so feckless, nobody cares about the guy. So he hits the tarp, he rolls off, and he rolls onto this drunk. And that also saves his life. He hits the tarp, it saves his life. He rolls off and he rolls onto a drunk, which breaks his fall. and now you got two drunks outside. Well, what happens is there's a dice game outside, right? Because the guys working the door, they're playing dice, right? Just like in, what's that James M. Cain, The Postman Always Rings Twice, where they're getting ready to leave town, and he just has to get into one last dice game. She catches them playing dice. My father was the same way. My father, James Thurman Ison, he was the same way. He was a gambler. These guys like dice. They learned that stuff in the Navy. And when he goes to play dice in the film, The Postman Always Rings Twice, there's a couple of Navy guys, a couple of sailors sitting there playing dice, right? So we know this gambling thing goes on there. And so the president falls on the guy, and they get up, and he looks, and he knocked the guy's hat off. And the guy has sunglasses and a hat, and the guy with the sandwich board is all drunk, right? And so he's able to, he sees that he's alive, and he's a little drunk too, so you got two drunks staring at each other. So the president puts the hat on, grabs the glasses, and then, you know, people come running out, and, you know, they get busted with playing dice and all that. They're like, hey, what's going on? They got to run over there because they hear the commotion of the bum yelling, and the bum's trying to tell him, this guy fell on me. And they're like, listen, we paid you to walk around with the sign. Now you get out there and pay the sign. Sorry about that, sir. Okay, so this starts off a series of events where nobody recognizes the president. Okay, so this is like a Hitchcock film. It's like Rear Window, where they see something from across the way. Now they're on their way down. The Joint Chiefs of Staff have broken into the room. They kind of feel something's going on, something strange, because they hear the beat of the commotion. They see that the guy's dead. Okay, so they're going to start coming down. So in this moment, the president has this crazy hallelujah moment. It's like in The Dead Zone. Remember when Martin Sheen, you know, he's going to bomb another country, and the other character in the Dead Zone, he can read his mind, and he can see that he's going to set off these nukes, and so he knows that he has to kind of off the guy. Well, this president in The Spangled Banner, Walter's third film that he writes with Jeremy Cloud because they're going to jazz clubs. I was thinking of a film yesterday. It's called The Last Detail. That's what I was thinking of. Because they're going to jazz clubs, they're smoking weed, and like they're just coming up with this crazy stuff. And the military guys that they're meeting at the studio are giving them pamphlets. They're telling them how the military works. Okay, now there's a reason behind this, and I can't give everything away, guys. Okay, I can go into crazy detail, and I could do this show just about my project I could do this 3 hours per day, nonstop. And so again, you have two traditions. You have the scribes who wrote everything down, and then you have the oral tradition. And because I played punk rock and I have this training as an actor, I can actually act all of this stuff out. I can talk about it endlessly, right? But you kind of have to have something to present, and that something is going to be my novelization, okay? And it makes it more interesting that these films, it creates the dialogue for the people in the punk rock band, because they're going to be in this whirlwind, like, money-making machine, right? That on this trajectory towards success, they're selling more records than anyone can handle, right? And so what I was likening them to, like Led Zeppelin never released a single. The key to Led Zeppelin's success, and the reason why they got an airplane, was because they released albums only, and it made people go buy the album. And the album was $7.99 instead of getting 99 cents for the single. They would get $5.99, $6.99, $7.99 for an entire album. Okay? The key to the band Linoleum Blown Apart, who has a parallel narrative, whose singer develops a Napoleonic complex, is the fact that they release EPs, 7-inch EPs only, and they're $5 each. Okay, I think Discord Records, the guy from Minor Threat, he did the same thing because he actually ran a label, unlike the people in Michigan who just shat on each other. And I'm very resentful for it. And I'm resentful mostly from what happened in 2018 all the way through 2022. I was back in Michigan. Again, I spent 5 years in places. I spent 5 years in Vegas. I spent almost 10 years in New York. Okay, I just spent another 5 to 7 years in New York again. Right, Cash for Smells? Yeah, I remember. I mean, you guys want to go around calling somebody Zoolander, okay? I mean, it's just really pathetic. There's nobody who can actually hold a candle to anything that I've seen in my life and experienced firsthand, including this bizarre childhood that I had, and that I'm piecing together like a mystery. And so, I was already putting. I was going to add to Two-Legged Animal, and I was in a bookstore one time, and I explained to the girl what I was going to do for my second memoir, which was called I, Son. That's my last name is Ice, and so it's already called I, Son. Right? I am the son. Because I'm the only son. I was raised by 3 sisters and a single mother, and so I explained to her what I was going to do, which was go background check myself, go get all the police reports, and like Lenny Bruce, I was going to just take the mick out of it and have a huge section of my book telling my version of everything that happened, because when I got arrested in Las Vegas, that was a complete and utter setup. Suzanne, the woman that I was living with, actually was dating the owner of Bourbon Street, and yeah, it was a total setup, and that was my girlfriend. Like I say, a lot of times, a lot of musicians, you know, a lot of these old blues guys, their women would be kind of prostitutes. I've dated escorts before. I've dated strippers before, right? I told you I've dated drug dealers before, right? But the worst one was, like I said, with my wife using a neurological stun gun on me whenever she felt like it. It was also coming from the Facebook app. That's why I'll never be on Facebook. I'll never be on Twitter, or I'm not Twitter, but Instagram. They can come through these apps, and it's pretty horrific. And that's why Elon Musk fired 80% of the people there. These people, I call them Fed rats, but I guess apparently they can do whatever they want. I mean, who am I to say? I already contacted the DOJ. Like I said, I'm the real thing on this show. Make no mistake about it. I always knew I was going to do a show while living in Los Angeles, and here it is. I'm doing it, right? And I do it every single day. But I talk about my project. Why? Because I actually want to work, okay? I'm not here to sell out. I'm here to earn. I've always been an earner, and I actually had to work when I was 6 years old. A lot of people don't understand that. It was pretty brutal. If you got a kid, give them their childhood. Let them have their childhood. And that's why they have this no bullying in school, because once you're out of school, it's nothing but bullying. It's nothing but targeting. It's nothing but hazing, being harassed, people talking about gangs. You know, I mean, it's utterly preposterous how people are in this world. And you know me, I'm just going to keep going. So I have the entire narrative for this film. This is Walter's 3rd film, The Spangled Banner. And like I said, the esoteric nature of it, or the exoteric nature, is the Star Spangled Banner. And the esoteric nature is blood on the flag, right? There's a blemish on this flag. And so, like The Last Detail, this film that I was trying to think of yesterday, it's with Randy Quaid. I knew it was a brother. I knew it was one of these brothers. I thought it was one of the Carradine brothers, but it's Randy Quaid. And they go around. It's a film called, I think it's Hal Ashby, The Last Detail. And so it's going to be similar to that. And so it's almost like The Trip. There's another film called The Trip. There's all these like 60s films. But this film is released in 1954, and that's why he's ahead of his time. Okay? And it's about the black valet, the Nick and Nora couple from across the street who witnessed it, and a couple of generals who were waiting for the president to come through the door, and he never did. And so they went inside. They saw the body of the campaign manager, and they saw the window was open. And by then, what happens? The president gets into a cab. He's gone. And so throughout the film, you have these little vignettes of him meeting people, okay? And the funniest thing about the film is the fact that everybody he meets, he brings up that none of them recognize him because they would never think that they're going to see the president, right? And so he always brings up, you know, oh, what do you think about that president? And all the people say, well, we can't wait to get a new president in there, right? And so this makes him angry. And so he ends up, you know, then he kills somebody else, right? I can't get into too much detail. I don't want to give too much away. So when he kills somebody else, as he's killing them, right? Don't forget, he's the president of the United States. He goes on a murdering spree. As he's killing them, that's when you'll see this revelation in their eye, and they realize that they're being murdered by the president of the United States. Now, this is pretty heady stuff. And you have the Joint Chiefs of Staff kind of laughing about this, right? Because what they're trying to show the world, like with the Cold War and JFK during the Cold War, park's nice and empty today. And the only, you know, I try to watch my language. I don't like cussing. There's no children here. There's usually toddlers are here. But during the Cold War, you had JFK. Okay, so it's very similar to that. So what they're doing is they're scaring the public about how much control does the president really have. That's what they're saying. They're trying to say, they're putting it into the minds of the public. Whoa, 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 whoa. Just like Dr. Strangelove. And Dr. Strangelove will be referenced, obviously. They're like, oh, you like Dr. Strangelove? Well, check this film out. It's called The Spangled Banner. The Spangled Banner, what's that? And then you got the adult person going, oh my God, we were scared to death. We saw that film and we thought the entire world was going to blow up with nukes, right? And so there's these scenes where the president, he's on a trip and he's going around and he's actually meeting the people again, right? Like he did. He's reliving this thing when he was coming up and shaking people's hands from this monologue that he gives before he kills his campaign manager, right? And that starts off the whole thing where you see from the eyes of the victim that they realize it's like, the president is killing me. And so this is psychological, and it's showing that the president has a little bit too much power. You got to pull these powers back, that we live in a democratic society, that we have 3 branches of government that also have a say in this. You can't have too much power in the hands of the president. And he has the launch codes and he goes all around town. But the only thing is, it takes place over just a 24-hour period in real time. There's other secrets that I have that go to this, okay? And so then you have this film come out. But guess what? Jeremy Cloud and Walter are still working together. Okay, and I have to bring this up because of what happened recently with the Titanic. Okay, that was part of Nana's Sticky Candy Dish. Now, Nana's Sticky Candy Dish is supposed to be like Lolita. Okay, and there's a girl at boarding school. Okay, now she was supposed to be on this ship. This is the second film by Jeremy Cloud and Walter. Because, you know, the film comes out already and they still have to work together, right? And so they start working on this second script, and it's called Nana's Sticky Candy Dish. And because the girl, it's just the girl and the grandmother. And the grandmother, like in Streetcar Named Desire, gets put in a mental institution, right? In case you don't know, in the story of Streetcar Named Desire, Stanley Kowalski rapes his wife's sister and puts her in a mental institution. That's basically what happens, in case you didn't know that. But anyways, so like that, right? I'm talking about their second film together. It's called Nana's Sticky Candy Dish. It's supposed to be like Lolita, okay? And she's in boarding school. And the rest of the family are on the ship, right? and we just had this disaster. So I don't know how this could play, but they could be on a blimp. Doesn't have to be a ship. It could go down like the Hindenburg, right? But her entire family is on it, okay? And so she's in boarding school. And the reason she's not on it, even though it's her birthday, they're going on a trip for her birthday. Well, she got in trouble for impropriety at boarding school, let's just say, right? I have the entire narrative for this worked out. But what ends up happening is after Walter and Jeremy Cloud do these two films together, when this film comes out, people in the, it's like William Randolph Hearst after he saw Rosebud, right? After he saw this right? You know what film I'm talking about. Orson Welles' big film. Orson Welles' big film, right? With Rosebud, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? So when they see this film, and the generals are laughing about it because they know that Jeremy Cloud, it's really a metaphor for him. Now, I told you he comes from one of these big families, like the Vanderbilts, the Astors, okay? And so what Jeremy Cloud is doing in this second film called Not a Sticky Candy Dish, which will be the fourth film that Walter makes for the studio, okay? And one of the songs in the film it's called Know My Name, okay? Now, this is going to be a song in the film, and it's like an early rock and roll song. It's a cutesy song. It's sung by a girl in the film, and in the Linoleum Blown Apart universe, right? It's kind of like this one band. They're called the Drivers. They're from LA. They're an LA punk band. They did a song called You Need Us that was from Gilligan's Island, right? You need us, you need us, you need us, right? It's when the Mosquitoes came to Gilligan's Island, and there's a LA punk band. They did a cover version of that song. So very similar to that, there's a song that I wrote. It's called Know My Name. Maybe I'll pin it in the comments. And you could always look in my playlist. I have all the songs for this series that are going to be re-recorded and played by an actual band. They're going to be actors and they're going to be musicians, much like inside Llewyn Davis, right? Where that actor actually played the guitar, learned the songs, that kind of thing. And so this is what's going to happen. This is how epic this television series is going to be. And I already explained to you, he actually has 3 more films after this. After Not a Sticky Candy Dish, he has 3 more films. I have the full narratives for all these films, okay? And I already explained to you that these films are prolific. They're going to provide dialogue that's happening 20 years after he turns in his final film, okay? And the kids are going to be saying the lines from the films. Each one of these films is going to be a real, true 90-minute film that you're going to be able to buy separately. Films sold separately, right? But in the series, you're not going to see the entire thing in the series, right? You're only going to see snippets of it playing on different screens, and you're going to go into them as teasers, and you're going to see scenes from these films as metaphors for kind of what's happening in the lives of some of these teenagers that are becoming young adults. Now, don't forget the guys in the band. It's about the 27 Club. One of the first people in the 27 Club was the guy from Badfinger. He also joined the 27 Club. They were on Apple Records. Okay? I believe it's Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and the guy from Badfinger. That's the original 27 Club. So, Badfinger are a great band. Like I said, they were on Apple Records. So anyways, just to wrap it up, I want to thank everybody for watching my show. Please share my show. Let people know what I'm talking about. I give you a perspective that you can't get from anybody else. Not one person can give you the same perspective that I'm giving you. In case you don't know, like I said, I went undercover. Okay? I actually went to the doctors before I learned a method of acting, and that was breaking down a script so that you're mentally sound, that you're not going to fall in love with your co-star just because you have to do a scene with them, right? And the scene might be graphic, right? I mean, a lot of people say that they actually, really, certain people in certain films, they actually do make love on camera. And, and again, don't forget, now, Lindsay Lohan came back. Now, she was gone for a long time. She had to reinvent herself. And so what did Paul Schrader do? He actually got a real-life porn actor, and he had them do a little film together. Again, I could recommend any Paul Schrader film. He just did a couple of new films, and they're coming out at such a rate, I can't even watch them. I can't really do much. I'm not asking you for money, okay? I'll never ask you guys for money. Why? Because that part of the series is over. You can't give me any money, okay? I don't want anything from you. I'm looking for work, honestly looking for work. And I'll be writing this thing, until it's done. I'd like to get with people and work together with somebody. I have, like I said, I have $5,000 worth of equipment back in Michigan. I had everybody in my family turn on me. They ran these ops on me, and it was brutal. I thought I was going to die. They wanted me to die. And when I didn't die, people just continued. It continued in Michigan. They're like, here, then here's some drugs, Gordon. And I'm like, let me see where this goes, because, I'm not like, some of these other guys. Yeah, it's like, and I want to state for the record, like, when I was working at a pizzeria and we were doing Yay, it had nothing to do with the owner. The owner didn't know anything about it. We were doing all this stuff behind the owner's back. We would have to wait. We would smoke weed at work, but we would always make sure we got the job done. And when I worked at this pizzeria, I was loyal. And I was a little kid, and I knew that the place got ripped off one time. I think I wasn't even driving by then. I was about 14 years old or 15 years old. And one of the managers ripped the place off. And I told Dino, because Dino was the one paying me, okay? And I said this on jobs back in Michigan. I've said it at jobs elsewhere. And some guy's coming up talking to me on a job. I'm like, is your name on my paycheck? Are you signing my check? Well, then why are you talking to me like that? I mean, it's just, if you can't be decent and nice, and this is what these people don't understand, okay? I'm a gentleman out the gate. That's what I call it. I'm a gentleman first. Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. But once you cross me, and you're gonna come at me shitty, you're gonna shit talk me, you're gonna step to me in the streets and do all this stuff. No. There's no coming back from that. Okay? That's why I said, man, when these guys turned on me, I understand what ambivalence is. But no. You glommed on. I became Zoolander, right? I remember everything, guys. I remember these guys targeting me all the way back. I needed help. I needed support. You can't run do anything by yourself. You can't run a band by yourself. You can't do everything yourself. I knew this for years, but you ain't gonna stop me. And you have to have direction in life, and I do. I have a new direction. I could still do a second memoir, but I would have to take notes from all these shows. You can see I can come on here. I can do an hour show. I could do an hour show every day. I can get into the minutia of this project, any part of it. I know the entire narrative of it, right? And hopefully, like I said, I've got major technical difficulties, guys. I've got $5,000 worth of equipment back in Michigan that all I have to do is show up there and get. I have an entire apartment's worth of goods that I can furnish, right there. And that's what I was planning on doing. I was living there. I had a very successful eBay business, okay? And I really resent the people who were involved in this. And I just want to state for the record, a lot of stuff when I say it's for the record, I mean it. I called my parents' insurance. I had to listen to my mom run her mouth about insurance this, insurance that, insurance this. I called on the phone. My sisters didn't call, I did. And I proved that they would send out somebody. Their insurance were so good, they didn't need this Lacrecio operative black biker. She's not black, but she says biker skank. In the house, in my mom's bank account. That's what you got a family for, to help you out. That's what you got a family for. You turn on your family, you end up like these people in the streets. You end up drug addicted. I already lived it. I already died and came back to life for the unfortunateness of a lot of people that I know. And I thought we were friends, and I want to state for the record as often as I can, we are not friends. If you worked with me at Harmony House, if you were in a band with me, especially, we are not friends. They fried my brain in 2018. And they were expecting me to die. And people that I knew were involved in this. And they think it's funny. Well, I'm back from the dead. You better know that's right. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know.